Hello, sports fans. Mauricio here. Well, we're still just talking about group by queries. This is your review. So here's the same query with the same metrics. We just swapped out the dimension. So we totaled by product. We totaled by customer. Now we're totaling by the sales invoice number. This is the same data that we condensed and insert into select from where group by. This is the same data that we condensed our sales details table previously when we saved a new row into the sales summary table. So, but what if we never did that? We would want to summarize each invoice based on its important attributes. How many line items was it? How much money was it? How much money did we make? What was the average of this and that? So I just swapped out the dimension. Then you have to swap it out in the group by as well. A little bit of a bah humbug is I would like to say order by total revenue, but you can't do that. In the order by, you have to use the same formula, but it's just minorly important. All right, moving on. More examples. So this is the second report that we have inside our web page, frequent flyer report. So the 80-20 rule, 80% of your business is from 20% of your customers. I once read that 80% of McDonald's business comes from frequent flyers, people that eat there 3 and 4 times a week. Give me a heart attack. This is the same formula, except as we did before, I wanted to make sure that we only talk about the customer product data where the customer is buying it often. And so this customer often buys these products here: blue socks, crimson shirts, and Coog hats. Look at that. And we're in the sunshine, so of course we need some nice soap that doesn't hurt. All right, so that's about the same query, except this having is a very useful filter. So a where statement filters the data before you total it. A having statement filters the data after you've totaled it. So total them up and then filter to just show me the products that customers bought more than 2 times, greater than 2. All right, moving on. Where's number 3 here? This is just by products. So here's all our products, and you can either order it by product ID in this case. You could also do a DESC if you wanted that descending for some cuckoo reason. Yeah, there's the highest one on top. You might do that for total profit. So, yeah, let's give that a whirl. DESC, descending. Ascending is the default. So this stored procedure, which again you can run just by right-click executing it, this stored procedure is going to is going to be called from the ASP.NET web page, and we build a SQL command to run our stored procedure. And it returns this result set. And this result set is conveniently dropped into an array in the web page. And the trick of all this is to kind of name the data table about the same thing as what the stored procedure is, and name the SQL command about the same thing as what the stored procedure is. So you kind of group your objects. Let's see how well I did at grouping my objects. Generate, these are stored procedure, generate product analytics, grid view, that's the tabular looking thing on the web page, customer products, and then the command generate customer products, or it's not exactly the same, but it's more or less just the same, the SP and the GV, although I chopped that down a little bit, and then the command. So if you name those three things, and even if you did the data table, I didn't do that, and I wasn't going to do it for the data adapter. But the more you name things similarly, the fewer errors you would have. It's worth your time, believe me. Rework kills you. Frustration destroys your enthusiasm. Then you just stop trying, and then you lose a day or two and you fall behind. So so this is just grouped by the number of units. So let's run this. So 300 units. And so that's pretty helpful. So you can analyze your products, and the brand manager has to decide, or probably the business owner has to decide what products to keep in the store. And when you have a little bit of profit, what products should we reorder? We want to parlay that profit into more profit. So figuring out what products are on many line items is pretty important. Figuring out which products we sell a lot of units of is pretty important. Figuring out what products are driving profit is pretty important. And management is kind of just that simple in a way as far as reordering. Alright, so let's go on to number 4. You just have to stay on top of it. You have to stay on top of it, put it that way. Alright, so now we have a subquery. And so this part of the query is going to create these first 7 or 8 down to number invoices. So these are actually the columns that you see right here. So number invoices, line items. And then, so that's our base query. The base query always is the first block of columns, but then we want to do some averages. Averages are a notorious painful process because you have to divide one thing by the other. So for example, revenue divided by number of invoices, you would have to say sum line total divided by number invoices divided by count distinct sales ID. So if you want to use the aliases in what I call level 2 metrics, a little more advanced metrics, look how easy that is. Take the total revenue divided by the number of invoices. I can understand that. But so you want to ungeek your code as much as possible. So as you progress, you'll have level 3 variables that are using other calculated level 3 columns, level 3 metrics that are based on other metrics. And it can get advanced, but think of it as each column as a building block to creating more derived metrics. So that's the business, folks. You get a bunch of raw data, and then you have to pound it into cents using metrics, and then you have research which metrics are important, experiment with those, try to invent your own. So I wanted to do these averages, and that's just a lot easier if you use a subquery. So let me be Captain Obvious. And by the way, here's a join. So we're going to get some columns we're going to get all the metrics from the sales details table. So SD, sales details. So look at all the metrics. I put SD dot so you could see, yep, that's where that number's coming from. And I'm joining to the customers table. So this is your classic inner join. So the customers that have sales. So there could be some customers that don't have sales, and they wouldn't be on this list. But I put the C in here so you can see, hey, that's interesting. Some of the columns can come from the customer table. Some of the columns can come from the sales details table. And that's only possible if you join on something in common. What do they have in common? The customer ID field. So anyway, this is how you do a join. There is another way to do a join in the where statement. Show you that another day. But the rule still holds. Whatever your dimensions are have to be in the group by statement. But so why did we use the subquery? Oh, and by the way, you have to give the subquery name. So I wanted you to see this outer query has access to all the subquery columns. So this is not necessary to put here, but I wanted you to see these are the columns that we're creating down here. So it's just that it's a first compiling or condensing of the data, and then these level 2 metrics further compile the data. And when you do averages, it's a pretty good idea to cut the decimal places to 0. So you do that with this convert. We also, so this is interesting. We reached into the last purchase column, which came from the customers table. So not all the metrics are based on the sales detail table, but most of them are. But we got the last purchase, and we're just counting how many days ago that is. So date diff allows you to take a date and then subtract out the current date, and it's been how many days since somebody bought something. Then we have a rank, and that's right there, and so that's the rank over the entire data set. That's why this is empty. So rank over the entire data set. So, and then rank it by the total profit. You can, highest on top. So Dilbert Jones is our best customer. These case statements are also phenomenal. You gotta, as an analyst or a report writer, you have to master this, because these columns become slicers for your reports. They become the x-axis, or they become used on the stacked column chart. Oh dear, I'm running out of time, but this is a pretty good. So how do you know it's a subquery? I have a second select statement, and then you select star from the subquery, and you just line up your columns that you're adding. So select star comma, and that is a pretty nice subquery. Why did you use a subquery, Feldman? Because I wanted to make new columns more easily. That's what it's all about. And we'll see you in the next video.